So today, the books need to get packed away, and there's a fuck ton of them. Yeah, I mean, can't pack all of them away. Chris's books are obviously staying out, and we're gonna keep a couple out because we read. But we just have to size down. I mean, we're not gonna read every book we own in the next month. So, yeah, it's less than a month now. Um, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say. Um, I think those are actually going to be our heaviest boxes, so I'll try to find the smallest ones possible. Just to try and make that easier to carry and stuff. Cause yeah, those are gonna be our heaviest boxes probably. Cause we have a lot of books. we are a book people. Chris has his small couch is open that you pull it up and he can put toys and stuff inside. Mostly what he puts in there is books. Some coloring books as well, and some pencils. And then he has like his own shelf on the bookcase downstairs, and more books otherwise. So, and he sort of takes after his dad and I with that, because we've always had books everywhere. And initially, whenever it came time to learn how to read, he hated it because it was new and all this. And eventually, like, I even pulled out some books that my grandfather had brought me from what few I still had, because my grandmother was of the opinion that I just had too many books. So she got rid of most of them. And then, my ex-husband didn't like some of my books, so he, like, tossed those out. I used to have a bunch of psychology books. Because I was researching and I was looking for answers why my grandmother did the way that things that she did. Like, I couldn't reconcile this. So I read a lot about the subject, and it actually helped me even understand myself. It also helped me write more effectively with characters. Like, the more I understood about my own experiences and things that people were telling me about theirs, and the more I could rationalize the reactions, not like necessarily excuse some of the reactions, just why and how and why it works that way, how it works that way, different ways that people respond to things, more than just the conversations was the rational reasoning behind that. So that actually helped me, and I take a lot of that, and I help the person that I edit with a lot of that stuff, so it's pretty much the only useful thing that came out of that. My ex-husband hated it, though. But then again, this man literally got mad if I knew anything he didn't, and he was kind of a dumbass. So it was one of those situations where a 5-year-old knows more than he does about most things. So he would get all emasculated if I even knew where something in the area was and he didn't. So it wasn't even something where... So me even having those books, even though I didn't talk about it around him or with him, just bugged him. So he one day just tossed a bunch of my books in the trash. Anyway, my ex-husband was a dick. But yeah, we have a lot of books. Jean and I actually both love books. And we love reading, and yeah. If we did not have some books in digital format, we would probably just line all of our walls with books and bookcases. both me and Jean agree we could live in a library. We could just make our home just a library. and just live happily, like, just surrounded by books and knowledge and stories. Anyway, once Chris picked up reading, and, you know, which he did pretty quickly, he just sort of took off with it. Now, he'll come up with stuff that he's read that I'd forgotten was even in some of those books. And yes, they're all kid appropriate. And some of them, like, I've actually sat down and explained because they're old. Some of these are old whenever I had them. They were hand-me-downs or books I got from garage sales. And I'll sit down and explain with him that some of the things that were thought were true in some of these books aren't anymore. So, yeah. There's only a couple that's needed to be discussed. But there's this one that literally talks about, like, not doing drugs. And then some of them is sort of had to, like, remove from the collection because they have religious context. There's so much involved in brainwashing kids to religion. It's not even funny. And the fucked up thing is that they don't even look at it that way. Like, the people that do it, they're literally just, they have no concept of this. They think that whenever, you know, the songs and stuff still pop into your head years later, that it's Jesus knocking, and it's not. It happens to anyone else who's been through brainwashing too. Things that'll be a part of it, they'll just randomly pop into your head. Because, you know, you were brainwashed from a very young age. My mom did the same thing that we're doing with Chris, though, before she died. No religion. You know, he can just pick his own thing whenever he's old enough. But also teach tolerance and morality. Do not make religion morality. Because when religion replaces morality, and here's the fucked up thing, some of these people actually believe that you can't have morality without religion. Like, they've just replaced it with religion. The problem is whenever you replace morality with religion, your morality actually becomes way more flexible. Suddenly, religious leaders have quite a bit of control over what you think of as moral. So, or even immoral. So a religious leader could tell you reading Harry Potter is immoral. And despite the fact that there is absolutely nothing in the Bible about reading fantasy and enjoying fantasy or stories or anything like that, you will go along with it. A lot of people go along with it because they've replaced morality with religion. So they will equate all these inconsequential things that are just part of living life as immoral because the church feels threatened by ideas. Cults feel threatened by ideas. Religions encourage ideas. Except a lot of cults call themselves religions and are widespread, like Christianity. Biggest cult in the world. You will never... Oh, God. Neo-Wiccans are probably dying right now. Like, if they ever see this video, they'll, like, freak out. Oh my god, she can't be Wiccan because she's actually saying something. See, we have, like, a general policy of accepting people, so even if we think that you're a cult, we're not gonna walk up to you and say, oh my god, you're part of a cult, how homicidal are you? We're not gonna try and convert you or change what you believe as far as that goes, but also, like, not saying anything at all that's harm too. It's a really fine line, and some people, they don't realize that. And often it is a really fine line to tread. Um, yeah. Wicca is defined by the vows of harm none and principles that are really just there to help you meet that vow. It's more like a studying thing. Like, you really just don't want to cause harm. So you go and you study how to do that, and you take those vows. It does not require that you. It does not require the other paths that people often put with it. But you can. Literally, the pagan paths are just like, go ahead. You can be Buddhist and Wiccan at the same time. You can believe in voodoo and Wicca at the same time. As long as you do not combine paths that conflict. And then you've got the neo-pagans that are like, well, and I'm like, no, you really can't be Christian and Wicca at the same time. Because Christianity specifically forbids this. So you are literally having to violate your own one of these religions to have both paths. That's not how it works. Most pagan paths have a very simple dogma, a very simple set of beliefs and all this. Just very simple on what you actually have to do to be part of it. But each of these simple things actually takes a lot of research to understand and do, despite being very simple. Like harm none. It sounds really simple, doesn't it? But it's actually a lot more complicated than that. It includes not harming yourself, not harming others, not allowing other people around you to be harmed to the best of your ability, and also to research how not to hurt people by helping them. Because helping and making that help invasive actually can hurt them, and does. So then you have to learn how to help without hurting, how not to, and you, of course, you can't force that help on someone either. There's just. So you spend a lot of time, figuring out how to uphold that vow before you even take it. It's something that you pour yourself into. It tends to be really spiritual, but at the same time, it has nothing to do with. A lot of people practice along with it. I prefer older terms as opposed to the Christianized terms that literally refer to mythology. And see, a witch and a priestess were never the same thing. But today, it's synonymous, and I just can't do that, so I just go with priestess. I am a priestess, not a witch, because I know the stories, and witches are those. They're kind of like stories of fairies. Like, they didn't actually ever exist, as far as that went. Although there was whenever you go into Christian mythology, though, then you have things like the Witch of Endor, which was not actually a witch. She was a seer and a medium. We have words for this now, but the word, they translated it to witch because anything that they didn't understand was labeled as witchcraft. So most of the people who were victimized in all this were midwives and their families. So all those herbal healers and all that, the people who legit knew what they were doing, the church would often get rid of them because in some way, shape, or form, they contradicted what they wanted to teach. So the Catholic Church just hated anybody who didn't go along with this. Yeah. What makes it really ironic is that the Catholic Church actually originated in Rome, the same Rome that fell, and originally harmonized alongside other religions. Religion was part of the government in Rome. It was the government, and Catholicism was actually contrived as a way to integrate the Jewish people in Rome. It was an attempt to include people who very clearly did not want to be included, and this had caused a lot of conflict, much like Muslims not integrating causes conflict now. Yeah. When you have a bunch of people migrating to different places and you've got a bunch of people of different beliefs, see, what Rome did was they would incorporate a bunch of different beliefs, and they would sort of just, they'd run into a new religion or a new culture, and they'd just sort of fold it in or combine it with something that they already had. And the Jewish people literally had a religion to preserve their culture. That is literally what the Jewish religion is. It is a preservation of the culture and the stories of a culture. That's what it is. And it was literally created because the elders at that time, some elders in the community, were just deathly afraid that they were going to lose their culture because people were integrating. So literally, then there was like this pushback. No, we can't integrate. We have to uphold and preserve this. So this actually ended up causing a lot of strife, because when you have cultures that are refusing to integrate in any way, like, even you can have differences, like, even where cultures have naturally kind of meshed together, you have people that have differences culturally. They just respect these differences in public and keep certain differences in private. Like, we blow our nose at the table. And we don't really care if you fart. And it's not really, it's just sort of a bodily function. And burping is a compliment to the chef. But you can't do that out in public. Because that offends, just because that's where it comes in, where you start talking about polite society. Because those are the standards that mean that we can all get along in that setting. But then, there is a point whenever you take that too far. Anyway, little things like that sort of evolved on their own. Like, nobody said, these are rules that everybody just has to follow. Trial and error, and a couple hundred years later, and